The unmistakable blue and red plume. Blue for loyalty and justice. Red for courage and sacrifice. That headdress, those colors, are the powerful and timeless symbol of values that the Arma dei Carabinieri have embodied tirelessly for the past 200 years. The Carabinieri are a police force with military status, with an all-encompassing domestic jurisdiction, and are internationally deployable. With over 5,500 duty stations and 500 companies, the territorial branch is the backbone of the Carabinieri organization, employing 80% of its personnel and ensuring widespread coverage throughout the country in the pursuit of security, crime prevention, solidarity and support. From small villages to large cities, the Carabinieri are a point of reference for local communities, providing at the same time assistance and reassurance. Operations control rooms. Via the 112 European emergency number, coordinate mobile units and duty stations patrols, thanks to a single communication system made up of several integrated networks, which, combined, ensure rapid intervention and surveillance 24 hours a day. To counter the threat of international terrorism, the Arma employs operational support squads, embedded in the mobile organization's battalions and regiments, and emergency response teams, part of the territorial branch, which are specifically trained and armed to provide an effective reaction in the event of an attack, with the task of engaging terrorists until the Special Forces units resolving intervention. The helicopter hunter squadrons of Calabria, Sardinia and Sicily are also an outstanding example of the Arma's intervention capability. In Sardinia, they are coordinated by Special Squadron Command and 7 other squadrons. The hunters combine military procedures with policing techniques, working alongside the K9 units in the search for criminals in the remote and secluded mountain areas of Calabria, Sardinia and Sicily. The Rachis Department is the head of the 4 scientific services units scattered around the country. They have developed technologies and skills covering all aspects of criminalistics, reaching a benchmark in the international arena. They comprise various teams, including the Biological Lab, which deals with the analysis of miscellaneous biological evidence collected at crime scenes. Within the Criminal Analysis Department, the Anti-Stalking Unit is solely devoted to stopping the obsessive harassment phenomenon. Through its regiments and battalions, the 1st Mobile Brigade deals with public order activities, civil defense services, and provides additional support to the territorial organization. The ROS is the Central Investigations Unit for the fight against organized crime, subversion and international terrorism. The personnel belonging to this unit are highly trained in using sophisticated investigation techniques. This unit also includes a violent crimes section and a media and communications intelligence section, which tackles all types of cybercrime. The Carabinieri Command for Public Health is tasked with monitoring the origin and storage of food products and the butchering of livestock. The Command for the Protection of Cultural Heritage is at the forefront of art theft prevention. It manages a unique database in the world that includes photos and details of stolen works of art, supporting investigators in tracing artifacts both in Italy and abroad. Following the Italy-UNESCO agreement of 2016, the Arma supports the Unite for Heritage initiative for the establishment of the so-called Blue Helmets of Culture, a task force which aims at putting in place measures to secure cultural heritage and counter illegal trafficking in areas where it's threatened by conflicts or natural disasters. To safely resolve high-risk situations in Italy and abroad, there is an elite unit of highly trained and motivated Carabinieri, the GIS, embedded in the 2nd Mobile Brigade. GIS members are militaries that combine the typical traits of airborne units with those of judicial police forces. members of the GIS are also trained in counter-terrorism missions. Being at least 190 centimeters tall, having the highest moral standing and holding excellent spotless disciplinary records. These are some of the requirements to join the Corazzieri Regiment, the security guards to the President of the Republic. They ride their horses and their powerful motorbikes impeccably. They are mentally and physically fit, have solid nerves and perfect reflexes. This old and prestigious regiment carries out ceremonial duties on state occasions on behalf of the head of state. When it comes to environmental protection, the Carabinieri have a significant and far-reaching responsibility. In fact, within the Command Center for the Protection of Forests, Environment and Agriculture, 3 different units operate in defense of these key areas. The Carabinieri Forestry Command plays a key role of managing and safeguarding the 130 national natural reserves at the heart of the national system of protected areas, patrolling national parks, combating the illegal trafficking of endangered species, preventing and controlling the risk of avalanches, as well as contributing to environmental education. Continuing the glorious tradition of the historic Carosello, the Carousel show consists of complex formations performed with great expertise by both men and horses in quadrilles that interconnect to the sound of fanfare before merging for the famous climax. A whirl of plumes between the shimmering of unsheathed swords and the waving of the regiment's banner. Even the armor's military band adds to its prestige, giving to the world its exquisite music and extraordinary professionalism. The musicians' beautiful uniforms are just one example of dedication that has seen them win critical acclaim on the international stage. Flexible and able to adapt to any crisis situation, thanks to its dual function as both military and civilian police force. This is the formula for success of the Carabinieri organization throughout the world. The Arma is regarded as an excellent organization by both NATO and the European Union, and through the years it has managed to export its model to areas spreading from the Balkans to Iraq, from the Middle East to Afghanistan, as well as in Central Africa. Nowadays, Carabinieri are versatile and motivated professional militaries, always ready to provide reassuring support to the community, and at the same time highly trained through the most advanced international methodologies. Whilst modernizing traditional forms of communication into cutting-edge technology platforms, the Carabinieri have never lost sight of their original mission: to protect society and its institutions with selflessness, a sense of duty and loyalty. More than 200 years at Italy's service, in the knowledge that the challenges they have to face are ever increasing. Their heads held high, a single motto in their hearts: forever loyal.
Environment and Blue Economy of the African Union, and Ms. Leah Naes Wanambwa, Senior Policy Officer, Directorate of Sustainable Environment and Blue Economy of the African Union. Ms. Joanna Lauritsen, Environmental Protection Advisor at the Civilian Planning and Conduct Capability of the European Union External Action Service. Mr. Marco Bonabello, Senior Advisor and Director for Economic and Environmental Security of the Organization of Security Cooperation in Europe Parliamentary Assembly. Colonel Augustin Chirian, Head Infrastructure and Environment Branch at SHAPE. I want to express to all of you my deepest gratitude for your invaluable support in the organization of today's event. Esteemed colleagues of the Gendarmerie Nationale Française, of the United States Army, namely from CETAF Africa and the United States Peacekeeping and Stability Operations Institute, colleagues of the Austrian, Swiss, and Italian armies, particularly from the Italian Defense Staff, the CIMIC Center of Motta di Livenza, and the NATO Security Force Assistance Center of Excellence, as well as from the Center for Post-Conflicts of Turin, and of the Italian Navy that are following us remotely with the Navy Staff Officer course in Venice. Your participation in this doctrinal initiative is really meaningful, whereas the role of the military is undoubtedly key in any crisis management operation. Special greetings and thanks to the NATO Stability Policing Center of Excellence and to the European Gendarmerie Force Permanent Headquarters, both co-located in the same compound, constituting, together with the COESPU, a unique doctrinal hub in the field of stability policing, collaborating with us in several initiatives, including in facilitating the organization of this very conference. Allow me to greet and commend the participation of scholars, researchers, practitioners, and interns from the universities and research centers of Messina, Molise, Scuola Sant'Anna di Pisa, Guglielmo Marconi, Limone Professor Pelanda, John Cabot, Ca' Foscari, Roma 3, SIOI, and the Oxford Institute for Economic Policy, Imperial College of London, Universities of Addis Ababa, Accademia dei Georgofili, University of Bergen, and last but definitely not least, Universitat for Bodenkultur of Vienna. The collaboration with academia is a conditio sine qua non to develop sound research. Indeed, this conference would have had no ground without your appreciated commitment and support. Dear experts from UNICEF, FAO, World Bank, Italian Centro Nazionale di Ricerche, ISPRA, UFRO, Agency for Peace Building, CERDAN Limited, United States National Forest Service, to investigate and analyze such specialized topics, it is priceless for us to avail ourselves of the unique knowledge and expertise you possess in this domain. The Carabinieri aim at contributing to the evolution of the environmental management in police operations, from the doctrinal phase through the ability of formulating procedures to the constant monitoring which allows to objectively evaluate the environmental performance and accountability. This conference is the result of a joint endeavor of the Carabinieri Command Unit for Environmental, Agri-Food and Forestry Protection, the so-called CUFA, and the COESPU, the Center of Excellence for the Stability Police Units. Main objectives of this conference are to identify and analyze the environmental performance of peacekeepers where international peace missions are deployed, to detect lessons learned and best practices in the management of environmental issues in peace operations, and to encourage the international community to anticipate environmental mainstreaming and analysis at the early stage of the planning of any missions, bolstering the development of new concepts and strategic approaches for what concerns environmental protection and promotion in the framework of peace operations. end, we will publish the proceedings of this conference to be widely disseminated within the community of practice. The Carabinieri have always devoted particular attention to the protection of the environment, at times even anticipating the trending sensitivity which is nowadays widespread among the parts of the public opinion and on the top of the agenda of the major international organizations, namely for the UN, in the Agenda 2030 for the Sustainable Development, the correlated United Nations Secretary General report, Our Common Agenda, the European Green Deal, and the Agenda 2063 of the African Union. In 1986, the first benchmark was set by the foundation of the Carabinieri Command for the Environmental Protection. Its preventive and reactive actions against environmental damages and offenses have been strengthened in 2017 with the incorporation of the former Italian National Forestry Corps into the Arma dei Carabinieri, thus multiplying the effectiveness of the pre-existing capacities in the two institutions. Therefore, the former bodies have been reshaped as the Carabinieri Organization for Forestry, Environmental and Agri-Food Protection, which currently ensures, with a single vision, the exercise of all the specific functions representing a unique national hub in Europe and in the world. Furthermore, the Carabinieri are committed to promote in various international fora the capabilities acquired in this field, also for the benefit of third countries, including via the doctrinal and training activities conducted by the COESPO, and by the Center of Excellence for Protection of the Environment that is going to be established in Sabaudia, close to Rome. In particular, the principal contribution that the Carabinieri can offer international consists in the possibility to deploy abroad mobile training or mobile mentoring and advisory teams. These are to be constituted on a case-by-case basis, tailored to the specific needs, always embedded with experts from the Organization of Forestry, Environmental and Agri-Food Protection, in order to carry out capacity building activities not only regarding the development of capacity of the host country for the control of land and forest. As an example, we can mention the courses that the COESPO delivered for the capacitation of rangers in Rwanda, Uganda, Namibia, and Zambia, but also for the care of it. Such activities are intended as a wide range of actions finalized to the recovery and protection of the natural and landscape heritage. This Center of Excellence has started this virtuous part in 2017, offering for every of its courses cross-cutting environmental awareness classes. This particular attention is mainly driven by the United Nations approach, whose direction steered towards environmental issues in the recent years. In fact, in light of the growing environmental concerns at the international level, the United Nations Advanced Mission in Cambodia in 1991-1992 marked the beginning of United Nations peacekeepers' concern with the natural resources. Since that moment, the United Nations has increased its environmental consciousness as a fundamental part of a global movement in the field of peace operations. Concerns about the environmental impact of United Nations peace operations are also echoed as growing institutional attention to reduce the environmental footprint of the United Nations missions components. This attention is strictly adherent to the United Nations Environmental Policy for Field Mission and echoed by the Strategic Guidance Framework for Police Operation in peacekeeping missions and special political missions. The policy, I'm talking about the environmental policy, was firstly adopted in 2009 and developed through specific policies and procedures on different environmental subjects. With such, they underlined the prominent innovation: environmental management is an integral part of peace processes. The strong commitment of the United Nations is to create a broader and engaging dissemination of fundamental concepts and to correct behaviors to which all personnel has to comply with. More in details, the main goals of the environmental management of a field mission are minimizing pollution and mission environmental footprint, avoiding degradation of endangered ecosystems, reaching the best possible sustainability. The premises to making personnel aware that this environmental attention has to be part of the work in peace operations are preparing attendees to this challenging duty and enabling them to any possible and necessary environmental adaptation and mitigation. According to the Strategic Guidance Framework for Policing, the police peacekeepers are requested to be in the front line of environmental management in all the three possible typology of missions mandate: interim policing, operational support to host state police, and capacity building and development of local law enforcement agencies. In this regard, it is worth mentioning the fight in cooperation with Interpol, UNODC, the United Nations Office for Drugs and Crime, and the United Nations Global Focal Point for Police, Justice and Correction, against the illicit trafficking of natural goods, including the illegal logging and oil trafficking, which represent a major source of financing for the serious and transnational organized crime and ultimately for the terrorism. Indeed, in a recent study of the European Union, it emerged that the illicit trafficking of natural goods is the third financial income for the organized crime, after drug trafficking and cybercrime, just before the trafficking of human beings. Recently, the United Nations Department of Operational Support has replaced the old environmental policy with the Environmental Policy for Peacekeeping Operations and Field-Based Special Political Missions, defining an overarching operational policy for all the mission components. This document outlines the need to reduce the environmental footprint, improving the global performance in the mission area. It is worth recalling that said document presents 5 principles: stewardship of the environment, efficiency in resources use and operations, continuous improvement on environmental performance, stakeholder engagement at all levels, adaptations and resilience. These new pillars provide an idea of the complexity and magnitude of the actions to be improved and pursued in the next future activities, and consequently represent a key reference in all the pre-deployment training we conduct in favor of peacekeepers to be deployed in United Nations peace operations. Indeed, these fundamental principles are the fruitful elaboration that the United Nations defines after evaluating and assessing its former activity, looking for sustainability and continuous improvement in environmental performance. These principles have been set to institutionalize the correct approach and could be easily shared by any organization involved in third countries' missions. They are generally applicable in different situations and also to any different mission component, civil, military, and police, notwithstanding the different shapes, mandates, and tasks of mission deployed in third countries. This attitude perfectly merged with the Sustainable Development Goals and the contents of our common agenda, and represents the global vision towards a more sustainable and respectful world we strive to mirror in our research endeavors and training programs. The Sustainable Development Goals are indeed integrated and indivisible, and balance the three dimensions of sustainable development: the economic, social, and environmental. The United Nations therefore set forth the protection of the planet at the top of our common Agenda 12 commitments. In a similar way, also the European Union has developed its environmental approach. Italy, and mainly the Arma dei Carabinieri, are working tirelessly in order to be proactive at European level, tackling environmental crime with some very effective tools as part of a long process which has allowed, along the time, to develop great environmental experience and knowledge in different countries. For instance, I could mention OCLAS ESP in France, SEPRONA in Spain, and SEPNA in Portugal, specialized environmental units which are collaborating at the Union level and also with extra-European Union partners. I want to thank once more the prominent representatives of the African Union. You are the main actors involved in the upcoming COP27 in Egypt, and today's conference could be an important moment to create a network and enlarge the possibility to further collaborate and cooperate among different organizations. African Union has determined its goals and has strongly defined them with Agenda 2063, particularly with the 7th point, environmentally sustainable and climate-resilient economies and communities. This point requires particular attention on sustainable natural resources management, biodiversity conservation, sustainable consumption, and production partners, water security and climate resilience and natural disaster preparedness and prevention, as well as renewable energy. In order to reach that ambitious aim, the Arma dei Carabinieri, and in particular the COESPU, would like to be considered the key partners as a training and an advanced study center able to offer support, advice, and deliver training packages. We do really appreciate also the Organization for Security and Cooperation in Europe contribution to this event, as well as UN OSCE recognize the close connection between the environment and security. And with its meaningful presence today, OSCE aims to strengthen cooperation on environmental issues as part of a broader effort to prevent conflict, build mutual confidence, and promote good neighborly relations. In this regard, it could be envisageable to strengthen our robust collaboration and cooperation built through the numerous editions of the exercise on combating human trafficking along migration routes, retailoring, reshaping, and readapting it to reflect the new quintessential thematic challenges area of the environmental management in peace operations. Eventually, NATO is undoubtedly a key actor in the security domain, and I am most grateful for the presence of its policy and approach to the environmental management that will be delivered by the SHAPE representative late this afternoon. We fortunately enjoy a solid partnership with its Center of Excellence for the Stability Policing, which is co-located inside this compound, and cooperation and collaboration are daily and fruitful. The presence today of the NATO CIMIC Center, the Post-Conflict Center, and the NATO Security Force Assistance Center of Excellence witnesses how much importance is dedicated by NATO to the team. I would like, therefore, to take the opportunity to thank them for their participation in this conference. It is a privileged occasion to underline their strong efforts to combat environmental degradation. NATO has done so by providing, starting in the 20th century, specific doctrine and procedures thought to mitigate the pollution and damage of military training activities and operational phase. As well as important in nature and environmental biodiversity, is a strategic value also in international partnership. We need to plan and manage environmental questions with the strongest and shared commitment and accountability. I express the auspices that the policies, guidelines, procedures, case studies and lessons learned that are going to be shared among the environmental experts within the panels and in the plenary session of today's conference will be fully captured in the publishing of the proceedings of the conference itself and will be useful for national and international headquarters, universities and research centers, and for the personnel of the missions deployed abroad to ameliorate knowledge, skills and competence of the personnel concerned. Thank you very much for your attention. Have a fruitful working day, and I have to ask to be forgiven for not having the opportunity to attend the other phases of the conference, but unforeseen but very important commitment have engaged me on another front. So thank you very much, and have a good permanence here, a good stay here at COESPO. Thank you.
General, Excellency, ladies and gentlemen, if it is possible just to put the presentation, yes, next one. Very, very briefly, I would like to recall the activity. It's not moving. Can you advance one, please? Yes. So recall the objectives of the activity that we are going to conduct in the framework of the conference. First of all, we intend to analyze the performance, environmental performance from the field operation. Then we would like to detect if any lesson learned or best practice can be collected from the field and shared within this community of practice. We express the auspices also to develop new concepts or new strategic approach to be shared with the community of practice, and namely with international organizations. In particular, we would like also to share with you what is the specific knowledge in this domain by the Arma dei Carabinieri, namely by CUFA, that is our specialized branch in terms of environmental management. Then we would like also to promote a better understanding on the need of anticipate in the early stage of the planning process of any mission the environmental consideration and environmental management. Then eventually we would like to share obviously all the knowledge and the policies of the different international organizations in the framework of this conference with the other actors that are engaged in this field. And last but not least, as mentioned by the director of COESPO, to publish the proceedings. So the main tool will be to collect all your inputs, all your speeches, and then at completion of the conference to widely disseminate it in the community of practice in order to allow to the peacekeeper deployed to have an inspirational source to consider when managing the activities. In terms of timing, after this moment we will go outside for a family picture, and then we will convey in the panels. The panels will last till 1 o'clock, apart from panel 2 that will move to see one part of our infrastructure, the Magistra. So we will have lunch at 1 o'clock p.m. and we will reconvey here in plenary at 3 p.m. In the morning, at mid-morning, 10:30, we will have half an hour of coffee break, and the same will be in the afternoon. So we will have the chance at 16:30 to have after an hour coffee break. We have to stick to abide by this timing because the majority of the people that are following us remotely. So obviously they know that at a certain point in time we will disconnect, we will have a break, and we reconvey. So I understand that there are many panelists, very interesting topics, but we have to do our best in order to stick to the timing. And eventually we will have this evening at 7:30 the vin d'honneur that will be served in the compound. This is just to show that every panel has got a chair, co-chair, a rapporteur, very authoritative. And this is essentially the structure of the compound. Now we are here. After the picture that will be taken in the main square, panel 1 and panel 2 will have to enter the 2 rooms that are located just exiting this room. So panel 1 is on the right, panel 2 is on the left. While panel 3, the one guided by His Excellency Ambassador Mastroianni, will be located here in our library. There will be the interns that obviously will show you the way. The coffee break are located here, just opposite the square, while this evening we will have the vin d'honneur here. Sorry for having taken your time. Thank you very much indeed. And now I kindly invite all of you, with your permission, sir, and the ambassador and all the authorities, to have a family picture outside. Thank you very much indeed.